Once again, thanks for joining, colleagues. I hope you had a good lunch break. I will update short. I will not take too long. I will update the overall progress we have. Let me put it here. I think just as an information, the number of coalition of the willing members is increasing, so we have new participants and registered colleagues, who is now even more than 100. So all plus more were invited for today. I think connections and other commitments might have prohibited, but the membership is growing very well. And I think the team in general, initially we started with soil scientists, agronomists, focusing on more of agricultural issues, but now we have colleagues from climate, data science, and geospatial teams from geospatial analysis, a large number of people. So the dynamics is now broader and very interesting to do complementary and interdisciplinary research. And also, I think we are getting good attention globally. We are being mentioned in different forums and discussions. And even yesterday, there was a very big workshop, more than 100 people, 170 or so, from the fertilizer company. So this was a discussion about data sharing, and our coalition was mentioned by other colleagues from other countries. The success, the effort, especially the approach we followed from a coalition, a willing team toward this policy, formulation, which is very interesting. And we have the advantages and the technologies that are in place, which we can make use of to advance our aims, our agenda, our program. So there are, even in Ethiopia today, Girma was showing, Dr. Girma, about 10% of the people have mobile access, and maybe that's an estimate. And there are also debates in Africa whether mobile-based communication will be efficient because of the nature of the connection they use, whether they have a smartphone or not. But in every aspect, there is a progress, and a huge data set is being available. So if we try to make use of those, it will be very interesting for us to complement what we do in terms of crop and overall system productivity. So in my presentation, I will try to go from where we want to be in a few years' time. Not we means the system, the agriculture, or our system in Ethiopia, in more or less, and where we are. So step by step, we may go backwards. So we have this system of farming as it stands now, more or less commonly being used throughout. And we may aspire to move to a system like that, which we may not be able to do everywhere in Ethiopia. So we can divide the country into different groups, and areas where we can do mechanized farming. And there are areas where we do more or less a breed of both, mechanized and traditional. And there may be areas where we do more of intensified system because mechanization may not be possible. So we can, we can prioritize or designate the country into 3 or 4 parts and allocate those systems. So we are not only interested in mechanized system per se, but improving the system through integrated farming practices, including digital solutions. So if we want to aspire like this, that the ministry or the agriculture in our country in X number of years, then what should be done? And we will try to indicate where we are in terms of agricultural transformation, but from the data perspective. Our aim to reach to the one we showed, not the mechanization component only, but the digital part, we may need to have a lot of information to provide advisories for that, maybe in real time and also for specific locations. So a fertilizer advisory will be one of those. And we have a very good progress in that respect based on the data sets we have. And with a little bit of fine tuning, we can reach to a good level. Climate advisory, in the morning, Dr. Girma presented the CABI, the agricultural platform, the advisory platform, which is hosted at AIR, and that is a very advanced system platform, which can be linked with fertilizer so that we have climate-informed advisory services in terms of fertilizer. Then we don't only focus on fertilizer application, we need also agronomic options. So good agronomic practices will need to be implemented. And we are doing a compendium for that. And there are already experiences so that we want to see fine-tune, a compendium of tools or options that can be integrated with fertilizer application in different locations. And early warning systems, like I think there is a very advanced tool for wheat rust and also other disease. We want to also integrate that with existing systems, and we want to also have a socioeconomic typology-based approach, because we don't want to prescribe the same or similar type of solution for every household. So we may divide the households into 3 categories, and then we do some kind of optimized recommendation for those specific groups. So ultimately, we want to have a site and context-specific decision support system that is accommodating different components of agronomy or agriculture in general, and also household typologies. For that, we need also, this is a content development in general, and we need to bridge that into the farming community. So until we transform, we need to have an extension system and dissemination options so that we offer those systems or tools to the respective users. And then ultimately, because we want to transform the system overall, we can have climate-informed advisory services, agro-advisory services, including climate and agronomy, and also climate-smart agriculture practices or recommendations for different users. It could be crop, livestock, feed, and so on. So to reach to the slide that I showed, to transform the whole system, we need to have data, and that data should be analyzed and packaged in the form of a tool, which we can communicate to end users using different levels. Then, in general, there is a need to customize gender and use, and our intention is to attract the use. We have a large number of young people who do not like agriculture as such because of the nature of the sector. So we want to attract those by devising these digital solutions so that they are more attracted, and also make it more gender inclusive. Then there are various options to do that. They're already developed, and some we have already done these components. So it is a matter of bringing data sets from different sources and use different analytical options to reach to recommendation. And an important component that we need to consider is the economic optimization component, because for every specific household, there should be a positive return of their investment when we should know more or less how a group or a certain group of households can benefit from the recommendations we provide, and we can have different scenarios to make sure that there are optimum recommendations. So there are already experiences. So the good thing with this digital advance is now we don't start from the beginning. So we can benefit from what is existing and do very quick to reach to a higher or optimum level. Then these are the basics that we want to reach. And where we are now is we have a very good awareness now. We have started the data sharing, and we have teams who are working on those, and we have already started a lot of data sets. So the basic is ready, the basics is ready. We have the one you see, the Ethiopian, the plots, they are now more than what you see. So that means we have specific crop response data sets for those areas. We know how they could respond with a given or a combination of fertilizer applications, and it will be integrating with the climate and good agronomic practices. Then we have the data sharing platform. So this progress, the first one is about the data and the data sharing platform. We have already seen one in the Ministry of Agriculture, and we are supporting AIR to have one to develop a platform for coalition-related data sharing Then with the data processing is the content generation is another step which we are doing, and we have a good level of results that we are fine-tuning with more data. And then the next is the translation into extension. So we don't want to stop at saying, if you apply A, B, C, D, this will be your return. We need to find a way to communicate that to farmers through agro-advisory services. And that component needs to be done. And then we have the extension. And ultimately, it has to reach to the farmers. So this is a chain that we will have, more or less. And the first one, the Ashanafi will present some, but we are closer to have all the data sets required, except few cases. The second one, the colleagues from Addis Ababa University and the IR and the Ministry of Agriculture will update us on what we have there. And on this one, Uletao and his team, the geospatial team, and some agronomist experts will provide an update on where we are in those areas. And this component is something, the extension and the translation to digital solutions is something we want to work. And there is already a very good experience with Digital Green from whom we can learn, and we are trying to partner with them as well. So there are other private sectors, and also EIR and ATA, and even CMIT, they have some experiences which we try to customize. So we will not stop at collecting the data only, or only analyzing the data, but we want also to transform and reach to advisory service through the extension. And there are interactions and feedbacks across the whole process, because we want to learn from the extension, from advisory, and from ourselves as well, so that we can fine-tune the tools. Then the basics, as I said, we are more or less ready. So we have the data ready, the database is already prepared, the analytical functional relationships are established, and we have the models, the codes, how to do those. And we are also trying to define agronomic response units, because from our work, we have learned that we cannot provide advisories to every pixel or every farmer, as we are aware. And also, we cannot also aggregately provide advisories at district level or CABI level or agroecological zone level, because they will be too broad and not meaningful as such. So we are trying to divide the country into some sort of units, which we call agronomic response units. And that is also at a good level and with some fine tuning, the basics is already in place. Then what we have done, and one of the very important things that we have achieved with the coalition members is the development of the guidelines, standardization guidelines. So we have the 6 guidelines, which are developed by a team of our experts, a very successful work with a short period of time, and also well coordinated through Professor Matuku. The 6 are now 2 levels. The first, the colleagues have developed the contents, and they presented to the team, to the coalition in Adama, and their comments and suggestions and their improvements. Then we sent those to independent reviewers, and the reviewers provided comments. And for some of them, the comments were not very difficult to incorporate. For some, the comments are a bit broader, and the reason is some of them, there is a mixture of being a guideline and a manual, so that some are too detailed and too much. So as it stands now, the first 2 are ready. I think they will be published. They are ready to be published, but I want some corrections. So today or tomorrow they will be finalized, the agronomy and soil fertility and soil biology. So they will be printed and also will be available online, and EIR and Ministry of Agriculture own those, but there are specific colleagues who contributed to those guidelines, and they will be live. We will develop them as we go. So these are not final, and we know that there will be a lot of comments and feedbacks. So we want just to provide the first iteration, because we didn't have these guidelines before. So we want to have something and receive comments and improve. Then the integrated rotation management and soil survey are closer to be ready. The integrated rotation management is more or less ready, but we wanted to discuss with the Ministry of Agriculture to present the whole detail to them, and they have to own it. So we want to receive feedback. So we will team, Taklu and myself will have a meeting with the ministry. We have already started the discussion. The soil survey, there was a review they received, and the team are fine-tuning some things. They want to update. So they requested us to wait for them for some time, but I think this week or next week it will be ready. The soil and plant and water is halfway, a bit more than halfway. So the team have developed, and there is a recommendation or suggestion from reviewers, and there is a need for the team to sit together and fine tune. So because of Corona, we were not able to bring those people together. So we wanted to wait. And the agriculture water management, as you remember, when we are developing, there was a discussion on it being too broad to incorporate so many things. So some of the comments include those, and also the tool or the guideline is very detailed, and it's like beyond a guideline. So we have to do some adjustments and then fine tune and make it ready. So anyway, these are more or less ready, and I think they are very good advances, and I don't think there are many countries who have such a very broad and detailed guidelines covering wider areas. So this is something we have to be very happy. Then the 1.5 years ago, there was a training that was conducted on some data analysis using the coalition data sets around 6 or 4 thematic areas for response across the country. And there was a right shop, and people have contributed. And then we are trying to develop a special issue, and we are negotiating. Stefan is discussing with publishers, and I think we are closer to be successful. So we titled it temporarily, Mind the Gap, Data Solutions to Promote Agricultural Productivity through Informed Decision-Making, kind of. So that will be the content of the special issue, and there are different papers. One of the requirements is to have papers mixed from, not from Ethiopia only. So we have some from Kenya, from Ghana, Malawi, Rwanda, and a number of East Africa and so on. So thanks for the team who contributed, and we may come back to you to do some revisions. So this will be a very good achievement, which is guided or through CAO and volunteers and some colleagues who wrote papers. Some of them not during the right shop. So this is a good achievement, and all of them may not be published. I think maybe they may reduce through review and so on and so forth. But let's see what happens, and there is a positive progress from this direction. We are late because of, I think, our own internal issues. The number of authors, who should be heard. In some cases, large number of people participated, so we needed to discuss to resolve that, which is resolved already, thanks to the team from Sofia and other colleagues in the ministry, in AIR. And then, so these are other developments. And one thing which the coalition promised to engage was to engage on emerging issues. So this was a very exciting exercise in the beginning. So some of the coalition members volunteered to contribute to the COVID-19 control mechanisms and their challenge. So what we did was, when it started in Ethiopia, we said there is not enough money to do testing across the country, and we didn't have machines. So we said, no, I think there should be a need to focus on hotspots. And we took Addis Ababa as an example, and we want to advise the Ministry of Health, where should they focus their testing, because there is a likelihood of infection and then a potential spread to other areas. So we based our criteria on the major what do you call them, control mechanisms. So physical distancing is one. So you have to have 2 meters away and blah blah blah. And we took that and we said, okay, which segment of the population in Addis Ababa can afford that one? Then we rank it. Stay at home is another criteria. So, how likely is it that the majority of the population in each part of the city will stay at home? Wash hands is another issue. which you have to wash frequently and thoroughly. And now maybe we forgot about it, but in the beginning it was a big issue. And then we said, okay, who can afford to do that? With a soap, enough water, and to do it frequently and thoroughly. Then we prioritized in Addis the hotspots. And then how, the second 20 seconds issue, we didn't have a clear criteria of who uses 20 seconds to wash his or her hand, but we tried to see, from education perspective, from awareness perspective, and we tried to characterize. Then the use of this one, the mask, is another one, who uses properly and so on and so forth. And then, there were some, we ranked these criteria, and then we tried to have hotspot areas in Addis Ababa that may need prior information for COVID. So as you can see, the maps on the left ones are our maps, and there are areas with a lot of tables and so on, where we said we have to focus testing. And there are some areas which are very high risk. And on the right side is the ones they tested and they have the database. So we compared the two, and there was a very high correlation or agreement. And we presented this to the Ministry of Health, to several ministers available, I think 3 or 4 times, and it was very, very exciting in the beginning. But over time, I think we didn't have time to work on it. And also, we were not able to get the data from them, on Warada or Kabale. No, I think Warada or more detailed levels. So, and the thing also spread all over. So there was no more hotspot things, but initially it was very interesting. And the comment from the minister herself was very impressive, because they were surprised that people from another field came up with this kind of thing, and we suggested to support them. And they said even internally, they don't do so much. So they were really, really very, very happy. And so anyway, so this is, to show that we are not limited into specific areas. As geospatial and data scientists are part of the team, we can also do other things. And now we plan to do on post-COVID, what will it look like for post-COVID, what should we do, and so on and so forth. And Mulata is interested to lead that. Degefe, Haktamu, Malkamu, and Jamal Mulata Kalkidan were very instrumental in this, to doing this. And there's another of which we did on spatio-temporal dynamics, but we have not finished it because of lack of data and so on. So anyway, this is to update that we have also did some kind of work. And in general, there are close to 10 or 11 activities or achievements that we have made once we started this engagement. And some of them, we have supported the policy development in the Ministry of Agriculture, the database we have, the guidelines, the data sharing guideline, the database now we are having, and some of the trainings, and so on and so forth are the key achievements that we have done so far. So the details of each, I think from now on, some of our colleagues will update. So more or less, these are the key interventions and areas that we have achieved, and it's not small. We are willing, and we have other things to do, and we are committing our time through our own interest, and we have advanced very well. And we are getting good recognitions and even support. I think GIZ will support a bit more, and other interested donors who wanted to support. So long as we define very clear entry points, I think there are a possibility to do some things together in the future as well. So I think with this one, I think there are other teams we have invited today, who can join the coalition, and also they can provide some guidance. They are directors from irrigation, from soils and natural resources, and other programs who can, even direct what we should prioritize in our work. And I think that's the end, and we have a lot of partners, and we have a challenge to include all of the coalition partners. So sooner, maybe we'll have a logo of the coalition so that we can have you can have that, but there are national, international partners who are supporting the exercise in different forms. So I want to thank all of them and thank the coalition, the task force, and the few of the technical team members, both agronomy, soils, and geospatial analysis, and also those who are designing the web portal. Thank you very much. I finished.
Thank you, Dr. Lulseged. Great. Very informative. There hasn't been a lot of questions coming in through the chat. Colleagues, we need to give some feedback on this, on all these interesting developments. It's really pleasing to hear that you've got the guidelines out and that two are already ready for publication. That's excellent work. I do have one question that came through Dr. Lulseged. It's around how, it says, do we have any study addressing why the youth is less interested in agriculture?
Even I was reading a paper that was co-published by colleagues from history, and there were some meetings we held, and I don't think if I caught a specific paper, but in our many discussions, there was agreement that the young, they prefer the engineering parts, civil or any of the engineering parts, and now more of the ICT or IT parts. And the reasons are that the return from investment so far in agriculture is not very high in developing countries. And the reasons are we don't have, case and site-specific solutions or recommendations and so on and so forth. So the nature of the exercise is the one which might have attracted. And there might be other issues in terms of policy and other components. So now there is a study which shows that is being reversed. And in Ghana, I saw during COVID situation, a lot of graduates have started to engage in agriculture, and they're saying it's very fruitful. And if that is combined with mechanized systems and digital approach, then I think it can be more attractive. So I may not remember the quote, but in our many discussions, there was a statement that the young are not attracted because it's a heavy digital job. In countries, this precision type of. Do I stop the sharing?
Yeah, you can stop, it's fine. Okay, thank you for your response on that. Yeah, it's a combination, and there will be a need for policy around issues of tenure, especially. The floor is open, colleagues. Let's have your feedback. If you want to speak, you can raise your hand. You can click on the reactions tab. If you indicate that you want to speak, you just switch on your microphone and give feedback. Let's engage. Mr. Tilawun.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a contribution?
Of course, what Dr. Lulseged has presented is a very big issue, very pertinent and important issue. When we see from the perspective of our end users, especially farmers. A lot is expected from the technological application part remaining for the end users. For that, the thing that they are contributing this time is very, very important. And they have to enrich these groups, the end users. And the idea of digitalization also, it's a very big issue, because everything of our farmers consideration is a fragmented type, and nowadays clustering approach is similar to what commercial farmers are doing outside, like for example in South Africa. If they contribute towards that, our livelihood of our farmers will change, and this will contribute a lot as a resource. It is a big resource. This is what I can say.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Talahun. I think the clustering and consolidation, just to mention that even now, there is a change, a suggestion for a change in policy by the government and the Ministry of Agriculture. And we are working on different modalities of clustering on consolidation, because the current fragmentation is one of the constraining factors to transform agriculture, especially using mechanized systems, and also in terms of efficiency, because farms are fragmented across space, and managing transport, traveling, and so on is not economical. So now there is a change, or at least an update of the policy, and I'm leading the land consolidation team experts to suggest on an input for the policy on how we can do land consolidation, what is its benefits, and what are the bottlenecks of fragmentation. So it's similar to the clustering approach, but also from a voluntary basis engaging the farmers. So that's, as I tried to indicate, that there are possibilities where we don't need clustering in some parts in Bali and other areas. And there are areas where we do a lot of clustering, and there are areas where clustering may not be possible. It's the nature of the landscape and the farming community in general. So yeah, you are right. So that is one input that we are making, and I hope it will contribute to the digitalization system.
Okay.
Thanks, Doctor. Okay, so we've got 3 minutes remaining in this session. There was a question on whether there's any plan to influence academic curricula with the guidelines, right? Tomorrow we actually have a session. We're going to talk about the work we've been doing on training and engagement. So we do plan to roll out training sessions on the SADS policy, and it will include, I think, some of the content in the guidelines. Mike, did you want to say something about that?
No, that's great. I mean, the only thing that I'd add to that is that, yeah, Dr. Godina, who I think is on the webinar at the moment, will be talking about that tomorrow in tomorrow afternoon session.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think to complement what that is, we want to have now, first is awareness creation and communicating and promoting the guidelines and working on them, getting feedback, and then once we have more or less well-developed guidelines, and we will try to incorporate it into academic research and other aspects. So we have discussed with Professor Matuku, who was coordinating the guideline development and how we promote through academia and so on. So first we want the agricultural community to use them and make sure that elements are incorporated, and then we will go to the next level. So tomorrow, Godina and other colleagues will also give us a highlight on how we want to proceed. And just if there are more questions, I can see also some suggestions on what are the way forward. I think our plan is, as I tried to indicate, where more or less the basics is ready now. So it's a matter of compiling those and produce results and discuss the contents of the results in technical terms with agricultural and other experts to make sure that we are in line, and then develop the dissemination options and work with the ministry and extension to pilot in some areas, in some waredas, and so on and so forth, with extension and Ministry of Agriculture. And once we have piloted those with the tools we have customized, fine-tuned, then we'll discuss with the ministry and other colleagues to see how we can scale to test or to promote on larger parts of the country. So, and tomorrow, one of the key discussions this afternoon will be to see how, as a team, we can agree on near 1 or 2 years, 3 to 5 years plan of accomplishments on this engagement.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Teklu, I saw you had your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yes, but I also have written that same message in the chat room, and Lulseged has already addressed it. I wanted to say, ask Lulseged to say a few words about what CAO has a plan in the very near future to complete what's going on and also to address emerging issues. But he just mentioned, of course, I know that that would be a discussion for tomorrow afternoon, maybe during the last session. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Can I contribute?
Oh, sure. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues. I just wanted to contribute to the discussion on how we influence academia. I think, with this type of tools, I think our first and most important client is the extension system. And in this country, we have many debates which are teaching extensionists on improved agricultural practices and systems. So if anything, I think the target, the first target should be the activates which are almost in every region in the country and are updating and improving the capacity of the extension agents and graduates. So I think then the higher level academia can take over. But for the tools to be mainstreamed into the system, I think the lower level colleges will be the best targets.
Thank you. Thank you for that valuable feedback. It's noted.